Hi, folks. Thank you again for coming to Back to Basics for Season 3. Today, we're going to speak with Janice Shokrian, and we're going to find out what she's all about. But there's one thing that we did talk about is comfortability, struggles. You know, how struggling are you? How comfortable are you? What are we trying to do in this world? What are we not trying to do? What are we trying to get away from? I mean, those are the things that we were talking about on this episode today. And she's an amazing person to chit chat with. So why don't we stop talking to me and let's get on to the call on Back to Basics. I'll see you there. Bye, guys. Hi, folks. Thank you again for coming to Back to Basics. Today, we're going to speak with Janice, and we're going to have a great time. We're going to go and talk about the purpose of life. We're going to talk about careers or what she's doing. You don't know until we get to that episode what we're going to talk about. But there's one thing that we do know that we're going to have a great time on this episode. So let's stop wasting time with Girish and let's speak with Janice on this phone call. Janice, how are you? And thank you for coming to Back to Basics.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be at Back to Basics. It sounds like a great place to be.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you again for supporting me on the small podcast that I have. But before we get into the business of this whole topic today, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
Mm. I was prepared for this question because I am an avid listener to Back to Basics. So that's something you ask everybody. And Back to Basics to me is that something I return to when things are getting too complicated, that I return to what I know. Back to basics is like, what do I know? How can I do it well? And just the simple. And sometimes the simple is all you need to be able to plow through to the unknown.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. And it seems like you must have done your homework on how to answer that question. But
I
let
did.
me ask you this question here. When you say return, not a lot of people realize when to go back.
Mm,
So when is their go back moment? Does that make
mm.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. And you do ask really good questions, I have to say. It's a good skill you have. I think going back is when I do it when I get stuck and the inertia and I'm trying to push forward and I feel like a car is stuck in the mud and the wheels are just turning. And sometimes you have to put the car in reverse and not go forward, but you have to go back in order to be able to get out of that crevice that you dug yourself into and then go around it.
Hmm. So you're saying move forward and come back again?
I say move backwards in order to be able to move forward. So that's like with that returning, you have to kind of reverse, take a look at things and just really analyze where you are at that moment. Because sometimes you just cannot go forward. So going back helps me to be able to put things into a simpler framework, even
Hmm.
if it's like back to basics of like cleaning my office, cleaning my desk, organizing my calendar, like doing something that's just so simple
Hmm.
but that enables me to move forward
Hmm.
in bigger strides.
Hmm. Janice, thank you again for being a sport on answering that question and doing a return on top of that. Let me ask you this here. You have created this comfort zone of a company, which I want to talk about a little if you don't mind. It seems like people they don't talk about the basics of their comfort. Where did you come up with that concept?
Hmm. Uh, I have to say it's been innate in me. And when I just think everybody deserves to be comfortable, and it started with like my kids when they were sick and they were lying on the couch, and I would just say you got to flip over like a pancake because you get uncomfortable even if you're sick and you don't want to move, but just refreshing how you're resting enables you not to get those aches and pains that can happen if you're just in one position long enough. And
Hmm.
so it became like a little joke. Like I became like the queen of comfort in my house. I would make them like I would fluff their pillows. I would, just help people be far more comfortable. And anytime we went camping, it was always about making our space cozy. And that's always been important to me. So when I was developing my product, it was to help my father be comfortable at his end of life. Um, and then I recognized that this product is something that everybody can benefit from.
Mm.
Everybody deserves to be comfortable, and how we interact with that, or what that definition of comfort is to each of us, that's where my product allows you to personalize and customize your comfort.
Hmm. So do you think the creation that you created for your dad,
Mhm.
do you think that's the purpose of life for everyone else to be comfortable too at the same time? You think
Oh,
that was
absolutely. There's not one person in this world that doesn't deserve to be comfortable.
Mm,
We're regardless of how we've walked our walk in this life. We all have lessons to learn in our life, but I think being comfortable, having restorative rest, helps put somebody in a better frame of mind to be able to deal with what they're humanly facing.
hmm,
And so why not get a leg up on comfort? Why not just be more comfortable if you can in your situation?
hmm. But Janice, when it comes to business, when it comes to health, when it
Mhm.
comes to motivating people, people they do get discomfort. They
Mhm.
don't feel comfortable at all. So how do we boost them, as you said, returning back?
Right.
So how do we do that?
Well, in my company, everybody um, has to be heard. In a situation where somebody's voice is not being heard, that's an uncomfortable situation.
Hmm,
And so, we put out there that your voice is important. We want to hear you. We will have the tough conversations. They might not feel comfortable at that moment, but we will continue to push through that discomfort so we can get to a comfortable place.
hmm,
Um, we have Not everybody sees the same things the same way. Somebody's like their focus is like my whole brand, and don't veer beyond like the harmonia, like the font choice. And if somebody uses the wrong font, it doesn't have to be an issue, but it's something we can discuss as to the why. And then it goes back to my suppliers. Who's making the components of my product? I search back. I have 65% evidence of who's making the product and how they're treated.
hmm,
My goal is to get 100%. I want to know how those people are being treated as they're creating the notions and this, and I know the zippers, but like, just every aspect of my product, who has a hand in it? Because a human being does
hmm.
at some point.
Janice, when you thank you for that. When you mentioned about 100%, I was thinking when you give people reviews like you gave me reviews, and feedbacks, they're sometimes uncomfortable feedbacks. How do we make that constructive and make it positive and make it comfortable for yourself, for your business, for your podcast, for your anything for that matter?
Yeah, it's hard. We're human beings. Our first reaction may not be the reaction that we have to stay in. So I think that that's the point, that emotional intelligence dictates to you to reframe the first reaction. The first reaction might be hurt. The first reaction might be anger, but it doesn't mean you have to stay there. It doesn't mean that's how you respond to it. You can reflect, and then you can sleep on it if you needed to sleep on it. But it is important to just to hear that feedback. And sometimes I don't want to hear the feedback. I had somebody return my product, and I was afraid. I was really afraid to go back to her and say, "Hey, why didn't you like it?" And so it took me a little while. It took me about a week, and then of course, I had already done the transaction, but I was just like, I said, "Can you just share with me what happened?" And it was an issue that I could not have solved. The product is not designed to do both head and back support. It can give partial back support, but she wanted it all the way down the back. And it's, my product Halsey fits a standard size pillow. So that standard size pillow is not going to magically grow into a king size pillow. And I was like, oh, well, of course I can't meet your needs. And but we wound up having a really great conversation that went on for over a month. And I consider her, a person who I would enjoy having coffee with if ever I'm in her neck of the woods in Pennsylvania. So it's just we really she got her money back, and I said to her, donate it to somebody else. Just wash it and give it away to somebody else. Because I that's what I do when anybody returns a
Mhm.
product. I will have sanitize it and I will donate it to like an oncology unit or a care community or somebody in need.
Hmm. So do you thank you for that, by the way. Do you think you can come out with a comfort 2.0 version of
Mhm.
getting a feedback from someone saying, "Okay, I'll have another SKU like another year or a couple of years from now."
Oh,
Has that come across in your head on that?
oh, absolutely. I have a lot of ideas based upon feedback from my customers. And as a small business, I and someone who dreamed this business to existence, I dreaming of different ideas and products and inventing is just my joy.
Mm.
It's the execution and it's the financials and it's the runway that I can have as a new business to do all of that. I would love to be able to say, okay, I've got my travel pillow all set. I've got the longer pillow all set. I've got all of these different niche products that can meet people's needs.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Janice. You know, um, can I talk about your book? Can you explain how that book came in place and what is that book all about, if you don't mind?
I'm not sure what you're talking about regarding the book. I don't have a book.
Oh, I'm sorry, the product itself.
Okay.
So yeah, so
Yes.
I apologize.
No
So
worries.
can you explain about the product itself as to how did you come up with this besides the father issues and all that fun stuff, but what really triggered you to make that comfortable? Obviously, we can have pillows and making comfortable, but what really triggered it?
Sure. What triggered it was that when I tried to make him more comfortable, because again, I see somebody uncomfortable, I'm like, hello, I can do that. That's up my alley. Um, I could not. And while he was sitting in a geriatric chair, his pillow slipped down behind him. I added a throw pillow, added my travel pillow. Nothing worked. I fussed, woke him up. He hugged me. His pillows fell on the floor. The floor was dirty.
Hmm,
That's exactly what
I
happened. I
see.
thought, "Oh gosh, I'm just gonna find something that straps to a chair." I did not think I would be inventing this. I went back home to my mom's place and I tried to look up on the computer. I was looking for hours. I was searching until 3:30 in the morning, and I just couldn't I was obsessed to find something that would just be simple. Not finding it, is when I came, home to Oregon, where I live, and they're in Texas.
Mm,
And I started cutting up my travel pillows. I started taking towels and rolling towels and just trying to figure out what would make me comfortable. And so I would try all these configurations, and from there I found someone who helped me sew a product and my first prototype, and then my second prototype. By my third one, I pulled together focus groups to say, is this something? Is there something here? Because everybody who tried it just had the exact same feeling, was like that, "Oh," and it was everyone, not young, old, male, female, non-binary, had the exact same reaction of, "I need this."
mm,
And and what what struck a chord with me is that it's like a familiar feeling that they're getting when they try Telsey, and it is like I think a return to comfort that we had when we were a baby and held in the crook of somebody's arm.
mm,
It is that innate feeling of being cared for,
mm,
being hugged. It's an intimate experience with a pillowcase. Honestly, it's a
mm,
bizarre thing, but it's
mm.
an intimate experience with a pillowcase that allows you to actually relax fully. And so after feedback from focus groups, after trials, after sharing it with physicians, after testimonials from people who've had remarkable experiences using it, I started going down the route to get my utility patent on it.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think your history is not being in business at all or an entrepreneur at all. So how
Right.
did this whole journey become from the business aspect as to how to register for an LLC, how to go and register for a patent, how do you register for a website, how do you XYZ, right? I mean,
right? You don't know what you don't know, and that's the good and the bad news. I just would Google, what do I need to do? Steps. And I would find answers. I went to the library. Library was my best friend because I was not going to spend money on books. So I just, you can find everything that you need in a library and online. So I would take everything. You said, yeah, of course, not knowing the right questions to ask is my biggest downfall because if you don't know the right questions to ask, you're having to do double of the work.
of course.
And so I had a lot of that doubling up of the work. I've had, oh gosh, so many like, woulda, shoulda, coulda experiences. But I just would, I felt like I would open up the path a little way and I would walk down that path as far as I could see it. And then another question would come up and then I'd research that and that would open up another path. I'd meet somebody who could give me some answers and insight as to what I should be doing. And
Hmm.
so those are really helpful. I took any class I could take, an entrepreneurial class.
Hmm.
I jumped in with both feet. If there was something that was free that talked about how to start a business, I was there. I was first in line.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
thank you.
that's
Janice, thank you again for that. There's is a small plug-in. I mean, there's a lot of episodes that we came up with for entrepreneurs and how to register for LLC and start your own business and why should you start your own business and why should you end it, because there are some endings and they're not always happy endings too. So that's small plug-in for you. So, Janice, thank you again for that. We started a new segment on Back to Basics for season 3, which is the rapid fire round. In this rapid fire round, we'll ask some few questions, and whatever pops in your head, we'll just go from there. Is that okay?
yeah. Are
Absolutely.
you okay? Let's do
You
it.
ready? You ready?
I'm ready. I'm
Okay.
ready.
The first word is going to be return.
Return. I feel like we've hit upon return quite a bit. So I'm going to say return is I like the re, that part is kind of coming back, taking the turn back to what we knew.
Mm,
So I like to separate those two. So return and really turn the perspective for a little bit. Turn the gaze.
okay. The next word is struggle.
Struggle daily. Daily.
Okay.
Yeah,
Queen of comfort.
me.
Okay. If you had a choice, which font would you be?
Which font? Oh, my font, Harmonious Sans.
Okay. Okay. If you had another option to have a Comfort 2.0, which one would it be?
Mm. The Comfort 2.0. I think Comfort 2.0 would be inclusive of my product, Halsey, as well as blankets, bedding, um, anything to nest in,
Hmm,
pillows, slippers, all of the cozy things, sweaters. That's pretty much me. I like cozy.
okay. Uh, process.
Process. Um, Process is a great word. It's a great tool, and it's a great. I think I have processes for a lot of different things. So I have different processes for each aspect of my business. So I'm going to say process to me. I know it's rapid fire, and I'm not doing very well on the rapid part of it, but process is um, habitual.
Hmm. If you had a yellow road in front of you, what would you do and what would you say?
My favorite movie. So, absolute favorite movie. So if I had a yellow brick road, oh, singing and dancing is kind of my thing. So I would be, the yellow brick road leads to some place that's fictitious. So I want my yellow brick road to lead to my reality.
Hmm.
So I think that's where my yellow brick road would lead to my vision board that I do,
Hmm.
and that's where it go
Okay. Search.
daily.
Hmm. Uncomfort.
Mm. Bookkeeping.
Okay. Uh, unprotected.
Unprotected. Seniors and children.
Okay. Transformation.
Capitalism.
Career.
Career. Being.
Hmm.
I
No,
never want to have a career that is labeled with me.
okay. The last two is going to be Janice.
Interestingly, I've never enjoyed my name. And so I know, right? I've had it my whole life. And so Janice is a word that interestingly stops me. I don't have an answer to that one.
Okay.
Isn't that weird?
So if you had a choice, which name would you be?
I think I would be more of my middle name. I think I like my middle name is Lee. I feel more that. But I was raised in a family with a French last name. My sisters had a French name. My father had a French name, and Janice just never fit. And I think that I just I don't really recognize it as me. I just feel like I'm beyond my name. And I know that sounds weird, but it's just a name that I've never really felt like it fit me.
Okay. And the last one is going to be back to basics.
Back to basics. I think it should be on everybody's podcast list. I'm not just doing that to put a plug for you, but I really feel like you do a fantastic job with your podcast. So, back to basics, rolling up the sleeves, going camping,
Mm.
being at one with nature,
Mm.
and maybe turning back to basics on you and saying, why did you come up with back to basics? What is that for you?
Well, I mean, Janice, thank you again for that. There are many different reasons, but one of the main reasons is to teach people in a basic way, in a fun way, because it seems like we complicate things in many different ways. To all the topics that I've covered, I mean, over 400 episodes, and I feel that I still have a long way to go because it seems like we have answers, but then we have more questions about everything.
Mhm,
So I think this kind of resonates with me for many different reasons because when we have people around us who are college dropouts, high school dropouts, technical dropouts, they don't know where to get the answers. And I feel that I might have the answer. I'm not saying that this is the one, but we have to start somewhere. And this is just what it is.
what is the one thing that stands out to you that you've learned, um, from your guests over the, gosh, 399 episodes, let's put it that way.
What have I learned? I've learned that I have a long way to go because it seems like all the people that I've interviewed, including yourself, um, they definitely have 10 plus years of experience about anything. So I feel I have like 200 years of experience and
Mhm,
learning from these guys as to a basic thing, how to go and register for LLC, how to go and be comfort with or without the pillow, how to be comfortable with one person passes away and what do you do? Um, you know, how to save money for that matter, how to be fit, how to be, losing weight, how to gain weight, because there are some people they have problems gaining weight.
mhm.
So I feel that I've learned so much from all the guests, including skincare, by the way. So it's all about enjoying also at the same time. So I don't know how to answer that question because I think I enjoyed each and every episode and I've learned so much and I'm still learning.
I feel like you're a consummate, the curiosity of life. I think that that's really a driving force. I think for me as well, to be curious about how to do something, curious about somebody's story, curious about, um, learning about from skincare to starting a business to somebody who reinvented a pillowcase. It's curious about comfort. The curiosity is what separates humans from animals almost. It's like, well, curiosity killed the cat, right? But we have the curiosity as human beings to be able to then extrapolate what we've learned and envelop it into our lives.
Mm,
And that is really so beautiful about listening to your podcast and hearing other people's stories, because that scratches that curiosity
mm,
of different people's experiences.
mm.
We only have one life to live, and it's kind of fun to hear about how other people are living their lives.
Oh, there's so many reasons, and then we can talk about this on and on. But thank you,
You're
Janice,
welcome.
for answering that question to me. And this is the first time that someone has asked me this question, so thank you again for that.
Thank
You know,
you.
Janice, let me ask you this. When you mentioned on one of my pre-calls, you mentioned about transformation and the career change that you had. Can you
Mhm.
explain that if you don't mind?
Sure. I was a nonprofit person. I was an executive director of nonprofits. I worked in nonprofits for my whole career. I felt that that was for me, it felt more mission driven and noble experience. I was working on a cause, and I really loved that, having that cause behind the why behind what I was doing.
Mm,
And as uh, I was working in the senior space, so I saw senior, elderly people be uncomfortable a lot of times, and I tried to bring them joy in my work. Then when I moved to Oregon, I was working in the arts space, and I was executive director for a nationally accredited school for actors training, and then for the state of Oregon's trade association for the film and television industry.
mm,
While doing those last 2 jobs, that really resonated or hit a chord with me, where I was helping people achieve their dreams. And I took a pause to say, "Am I achieving my dream?" I've always wanted a patent. Had no idea what I was gonna do, what I was going to invent, but then I also wanted my own business. And so really having my, transforming from helping others and doing something that was a nonprofit and saying, "I'm doing a for-profit," felt like a metamorphosis for myself.
mm. Yeah, thank you so much for explaining. You know, has media changed over the years? Has From your aspect, what are your thoughts on that part of view? Because from the art point of view, has that changed a little from the youngsters to the old way of thinking?
Has media changed? Storytelling has always been around, so that aspect of media has not changed. How
Mm,
we tell our stories and who has access to tell the stories, that has completely changed, where you can have kids on TikTok go viral and be influencers. So, the child star that everybody knows about is like Shirley Temple, so it's like you don't you have like Drew Barrymore, you have like a handful, and now we have kids making more money than their parents, and parents quitting their jobs to help them with their TikTok and content creation. And
mm,
the pressure on that is, now we're starting to see the reverse of it, and saying how one woman was an influencer and she went to work for a corporation. She didn't want that pressure anymore.
mm,
So media is going through a lot, and it's a wild ride. I think people really need to be wise about it, about what they're doing with it.
mm. So that is one of the reasons why I asked this question, is because I guess you want to be uncomfortable to be comfortable, but then when you're comfortable, then you're uncomfortable, right?
I try not to live in uncomfort or discomfort. I try to fix all that. So
Yeah, so there was a reason why I asked this question, is because I think we're living in this world that we are going to be comfortable because at the end of the day we get money, we get fame and all that fun stuff, but then there's stress coming in there, right? And
Mhm.
discomfort, which you don't want. Uh,
Right.
so thank you again
Well,
for explaining that, and thank you
well,
for
it's also like when my kids were little and I would have them flip over on the couch. They were comfortable, but I'm like, "You need to flip."
that's right.
And that moment of flipping is uncomfortable, but
Mm,
then it's return to comfort, back
mm.
to basics.
Back to basics. Yeah, Janice, thank you again for being on my show. Before you leave today, Do you have any last words to all my Back to Basic listeners and my viewers? And how is your journey on Back to Basics too? On top of that,
I have really enjoyed this journey onto Back to Basics. For your listeners, if anybody is interested in being comfortable, I would give your listeners a discount for listening and being interested in Tausi. So if you use Comfy20, you'll get 20% off at www.tausi, Tausi brands, brands. And this is .com, sorry. And this has just really been an amazing experience. So I really appreciate you having me on Back to Basics. And I will be shouting this episode from the rooftops because I just think it's just so much fun. And everybody deserves to be comfortable.
yeah.
Even me being asked a million questions.
Well, that was a twist because you asked me a question too. So
I
don't know.
did.
I don't know if I was uncomfortable or comfortable at the same time. But Janice, thank you again for being here, and thank you again for supporting me too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So guys, we spoke with Janice today, didn't we? Or I should say Lee, or I should say whatever name we want to call her, because she's still finding that truth. Now, as usual, there is a quote of the day, but before I do that, the common question and the common answer that she's given us is comfort. The common answer that I've given is uncomfort. Now the question is, how do we make yourself comfortable? Asking the right question to the right people. Doing things uncomfortable to make you comfortable. I hope that makes sense, because honestly, I've read this quote back there, and it makes really sense. So you know what? I should just shut up and give you that quote. How about that? So here's a quote of the day, because I feel like this quote kind of resonates this whole thing. The only thing that is stopping you from where you are to where you want to go is your comfort zone. Because you got to be uncomfortable to be comfortable. Or is it comfortable to be uncomfortable? Or comfortable, I can keep on going on, but you know what I mean. Now, as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care. I will see you next time on Back to Basics.
You're a fun person to talk to. You're easy to. You ask really unexpected questions, and you make a person think, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I make you struggle on that one question, didn't I?
You did. I'm going to be stammering. I'm going to be mad at myself when I listen to that podcast, the replay, and I'll be like, oh, Janice. Could have answered that better.
But
you made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I made you uncomfortable. Hi, guys. Thank you again for tuning in to Back to Basics and listening to the excellent episode that we had today with our guest. With your love and support, we do need you to at least rate our show, review our show, because it does make us stronger day by day, week by week, as I usually say on my episodes. And there are 3 things in this episode that it makes a hit for me, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. So guys, take care, God bless, and remember, everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and see you next time on Back to Basics.